Right, so Labour have taken a turn from the downright cruel and greedy to now introducing something out of 1984 or some other dystopian nightmare. Because nothing quite devalues the lives of a certain sector of society than forcing something upon them that they might not want or face being punished for it. After embarking on a war against the British public in so many ways already, from pensioners to children in poverty to seeing our water and energy bills rise to watering down rights at work and more, all in just 100 days of being in office, they are now accusing people who happen to be fat for holding back the economy, that they are work shy, whether they are in work or not, I might add, and as such look set to force what is actually a significantly dangerous drug on the general public, as a pharmaceutical trial is due to begin shortly, or is being pondered very heavily, let's say. And I can't imagine why the likes of Wes Streeting are backing such a move after all. The UK get given $280 million by the same pharmaceutical company that makes this drug. Can you possibly see a reason why Labour are now backing this move? Right, so dystopia warning, as one of Starmer's biggest social media fans might care to say. If you know, you know. But it also sums up exactly the situation we now find ourselves in, as a £280 million investment from a US pharmaceutical company, Lilly, the world's largest pharmaceutical company in fact, it appears has been the price tag put on all of our lives as Starmer's Labour, under his odious health secretary, the weaselly Wes Streeting, are about to embark on a war on the fat. And whether you are fat or not, the immorality and lack of ethics, not to mention abuse of human rights as this would appear to be, should be of considerable concern to us all. This is going to be a 5-year trial, apparently, where those out of work and overweight are going to be given a weight loss jab of a drug called tirzepatide, the so-called King Kong of weight loss jabs, to see if it can help these people get back into work. This is classic media optics. Take a demographic that people will generally be unsympathetic with. When you combine it with a given narrative to back support, you get them to doing something you, the viewer, or already might consider appropriate for them. In this instance, if people are fat, that is generally considered to be their own fault. If they can't work for that, well, that then buys into the whole benefits claimants are scroungers routine, doesn't it? As for them refusing to take it, perhaps, well, let's remove any choice from them on the matter, because it appears there's no choice on offer, as this excerpt from Squawkbox lays out. Keir Starmer and Health Secretary Wes Streeting are planning a major war on people they consider to be overweight, starting with the unemployed people, and with a clear indication they intend to widen it to the general population, by forcing them to take a weight loss drug that is known to have fatal side effects. BMI, body mass index, which the NHS uses to determine obesity, is a deeply flawed measure whose creators specifically said should not be used as a measure of fatness, and which is used by healthcare companies to deny treatment or raise prices. I'm going to come back to those side effects in a moment. Another indication of the value this Labour government places on people's lives, and when we already thought they were considered life cheap with their support for Israel, now it's clear the lives of Brits are of little more value to them unless you're economically active enough for them. That growth Starmer and Rachel Reeves want, they'll get it whatever the cost to you and your health, it seems. It's not news that the UK does have an obesity problem, but a jab isn't the answer. Starmer always rabbits on about hating the Tories and their sticking plaster politics, but that is exactly what this is. And it seems if somebody is prepared to wave enough money in front of their noses, they'll happily trial anything on us, the British public, starting with the people they figure are of the least value, guinea pigs for a medical trial. Obesity is a simple fact has many root causes. It can be genetic. It can be caused by other medications people might need for various health conditions. But the biggest cause right now has been austerity and the cost of living crisis, which has blighted so many families, because if you want to eat good, nutritious, wholesome, quality food, it costs more than cheap, processed, battered and breadcrumbed whatever and chips does. In fact, the honest truth is, those out of work are being predominantly targeted in this trial are far more likely to be underweight as a result of austerity than overweight, because they'll be missing meals. They'll be skipping them so their kids eat. They'll be eating when they get to a food bank, but not at other times. And this is nothing new to government either, as this excerpt from The Guardian from 2017 shows in relation to a scientific study carried out at that time. But a study in the journal Preventive Medicine produces evidence that unemployed people are far more likely to be significantly underweight than the average person. The study's authors, Dr. Amanda Hughes and Professor Meena Kumari from the Institute for Social and Economic Research at the University of Essex, believe their findings provide a corrective to popular misconceptions about unemployed people and should alert health professionals to the heightened mortality risks that come from being underweight. So this narrative is a lot of harmful nonsense. It isn't just those out of work to be offered this jab, though. Those in work will apparently be offered it too to see if it helps them increase productivity. Which means this isn't just a quick fix club to beat poor people with. It can be rolled out to everyone should the trial prove successful. How will they force people to take it though? How can you force people to do this? I can imagine threatening benefits to those needing them. The out of work and low paid would be one such course of action. Take it or else. But it's just begging for a human rights court case going down the road. That way, surely. How about denying people medical treatment until they lose enough weight though? We know this is already being done, of course. Operations put off on the grounds of safety, in many cases, as an example. Legitimate as that might be. But it's a damn convenient cover to force the issue of taking these jabs too, isn't it? Perhaps a more sinister course of action is selling it as a panacea and an answer to people's prayers, whilst very much playing down such things as the side effects. And we absolutely do need to talk about the side effects here, because this drug has fatal side effects, making it anything but the miracle drug it's promised to be for many people, and an enormous amount of NHS resources would actually have to be taken up in order for any trial to be considered remotely safe. In diabetics, people who have a certain predisposition to being overweight, any who are already taking insulin or another anti-diabetic medication can experience hypoglycemia with this drug, which can itself be life-threatening, low blood sugar. Also, with any diabetics who might already have issues with their eyes, this can be worsened, diabetes-related eye disease potentially leading to blindness. It can cause pancreatitis, which can be fatal. It can cause acute kidney injury, especially in patients prone to kidney dysfunction or who are prone to dehydration. It can cause inflammation of the gallbladder. It can cause dangerous allergic reactions, including the inability to breathe. And it has even been reported in animal studies that the drug caused tumours, something the FDA have made explicitly clear a warning must be included about, that there is a potential risk of this in humans. It can also cause an elevated heart rate, and there are concerns about heart health in relation to long-term use of this drug. But the evidence is still inconclusive on that, and yet we're talking about trials here in the UK. So in summation, it's not a well-documented drug, it seems. It may cause cancer, it may cause heart problems, it does definitely cause fatal cases of pancreatitis, and it seems to be particularly risky for diabetics and people with kidney disorders. But £280 million for the Labour government, and this is the direction they seem to be weighing up in favour of. A bought and paid for government like no other I've ever known. Another issue I've thought of, and I couldn't find blurb on this particular drug to answer it though, was in relation to withdrawal, and if you're reliant on this drug for any length of time, what happens if you can't get it? I'm conscious of this because I'm aware of a shortage of a diabetic treatment that Lilly also produced called Trulicity. There's been a massive shortage of this drug in the UK for months and months now, and diabetics tend to need their meds, and it's not good for them. They end up off them for any length of time. What if that happens here in this instance, and what could the consequences of that be? Because I dare say people don't know. If people are being forced to lose weight to access NHS services or benefits, or however Labour might choose to force this issue, especially if after this trial they do roll it out nationwide, how can that be the patient's fault in any case? In order to alleviate what Labour see as an obesity epidemic, which is having an adverse impact on the economy, holding it back, they say, blaming fat people for being work-shy, building a narrative of such offensiveness to build up a general public backing for a trial of a drug that, according to the US National Center for Biotechnology Information, the NCBI, noted that fatal adverse events and other extreme reactions can affect up to 1% of people that take the drug. That's the same number of people who were dying of COVID pre-vaccine. If there's 3,000 people taking part in this trial, theoretically 30 of them are going to die. That's 30 people too many. If the measure of that is going to be body mass index, then that's a false flag from the start, because that correlates obesity with height and weight. It doesn't differentiate, for example, between fat or muscle as far as weight goes. A bodybuilder would be called obese under the BMI system, so it is a complete nonsense. Starmer and Streeting will sell this plan as an attempt to build economic growth and get the cost of the NHS down and target overweight people as a justification for both, blaming them for the NHS bill being so high and blaming them for holding back the economy as well. A £280 million cash injection from Lilly appears to have seen them set any morals or ethics they ever had to begin with aside, and instead of people, they're seeing pound signs. And where private healthcare donations go, both Starmer and Streeting have got plenty of skin in that game. We shouldn't be at all surprised that two such monstrous human beings are behind such a dystopian policy to target people they seemingly place less value on than others. I'm minded to recall a short while ago that Wes Streeting banned trans people from accessing puberty blockers on the basis that they weren't safe, and I can't help but think now that the drug makers there missed a trick by not giving Labour a shed load of cash first. The result might well have been quite different. Starmer and Streeting only give a damn about you if you're economically productive, but even that might be tempered by how economically productive you are, and if not enough in their view, well, there might be an injection for that now. Certainly Labour would rather go down this road than deal with meaningful issues like poverty and food access, but that's clearly too easy, isn't it? And clearly doesn't pay as well either. Meanwhile, Starmer appears to be embroiled in yet another Downing Street scandal as one of his advisors apparently holds shares in artificial intelligence technology, whilst also apparently being in a position to shape government policy on that and their approach to the AI industry. Conflict of interest much? I'd add all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next feed. Cheers, folks.